After battling for dozens of hours in the Pakal meta, I've got to go and update the legendary tier list. Also, I've got some predictions for the new archers, Amanatori and Gilgamesh. So stick around in this video for everything you need to know about the legendary commanders in Rise of Kingdoms based on the meta today and the meta of tomorrow. Hello my friends and welcome back, I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this video we've got to update the legendary tier list based on all the information we got battling for countless hours in KVK and a few predictions for what these new archers are going to do. But before we begin, I got to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Infinite Galaxy. In Infinite Galaxy, you explore the vastness of space to claim territory, battle fierce foes, and yes, take down other players. In this game, you'll be building a collection of flagships. You'll use those to wage war with your collection of war ships, whether it's the sprightly frigate, the mid-sized destroyer, or the massive cruisers. Your fleet will go head-to-head against opponents in space combat and in the campaign. But it wouldn't be much of a fleet without its crew. Your crew will help define and customize the way that your team works together as you build out the most amazing space station the galaxy has ever seen, building up and constructing things from your headquarters to your military center to make sure you're ready for the next encounter. Along the way, you'll do a ton of research, advancing your space station's capabilities in both situations against players and in situations that help you build up and get stronger. What happens next in this game? Well, my friends, it's entirely up to you. In essence, Infinite Galaxy is Rise of Kingdoms, but in space, and they just launched Alliance Wars, where you can go head-to-head against another alliance, just like Alliance Battlegrounds in Rise of Kingdoms. So if you'd like to play the game, download using the link in the description, and you can join us in Nebula 13. There are even people here that'll help hook you up with some resources on your way to power up. So join us. What are you waiting for? The link is in the description. Now, for those of you new to the tier lists, I'm going to put the rating system up on the screen very briefly. S+ is the highest, and I use plus or minus to differentiate slightly better, slightly worse, and there's only one S+ per category. Let's start with City Defense. Not a coincidence that I have Amanatori up on the screen. I think she will be okay at City Defense, but I am concerned because cavalry rallies are terrifying, and Amanatori is weaker to cavalry rallies. So I'm optimistically giving her an S- for City Defense, but after having taken several city rallies myself, from XY Chandra and also from Attila Takeda, I feel very strongly that Theodora and YSS are the way to go. Maybe you could replace the YSS with Zenobia and go Zenobia, Theodora. I think that would be very reasonable. And Theodora is the #1 pick because you're certainly going to be over 50% health when you take that rally with your city, and she's going to give a really solid damage boost, clear debuffs. She is terrifying for City Defense. In fact, she's the queen of it, the best of the best, S+. Now, when it comes to Barbarianism Forts, this is a category I only want to touch on very briefly. People get very confused why Richard I has S+, and that is because with Richard I, you can Barbarian Chain almost infinitely if you've got a little bit of Heroic Anthem technology to support it as well. AoE Barb Chaining is insanely powerful, and you need some AoE damage to get it done. That's why I also rank Esong very highly for this category. Now, when it comes to the open field, this is what you're probably here to learn about, and in my estimation, I changed around the S+ from Trajan to Guan Yu. That silence is just insane. And when you look at what's happened in Ark of Osiris League and also the Osiris League Grand Finals, Guan Yu is just everywhere. Everywhere you look, Guan Yu is on the field. Now, when we cruise down the list of commanders here, I did slightly bump down Artemisia. That is because I just really don't like her self-silence, and maybe, when paired with a commander like Amanatori, who is immune to silence, this could get really, really powerful as a combo. In fact, I think it will. But for now, because I don't put her in like the starting lineup for a murder ball, I've got her down to an S-. I did bump up slightly Chandragupta. People still lose their mind over accessories like the dagger or Mora's web. And I don't understand why they're like, yeah, I always rally and Garrison with it. I'm like, no, it's not as good as Ring of Doom. It just isn't. Like, you can make your choice. Unless it's a multi-rally onto a target. Okay, that's cool. If you like those effects, Chandragupta's insane. He gives you both the defense reduction and health reduction, and it's instant proc, and it hits the target. Like, I don't know what to tell you. In fact, I do know one more thing to tell you, though, which is that not only does he do all that, but with the way that the fourth skill works on Chandragupta, he actually front loads all of his damage with the other commander using their active skill. And I say other commander because usually he's the secondary. So you use XY, Chandragupta, and when XY uses the active skill, boom, the instant damage over here from Chandragupta will fire at the same time. Then there's a second of downtime. Then Chandragupta will give himself the 40% damage boost. Chandragupta is deserving of the S, and so is Herald. I bumped him down, and then this KVK, my God, I've just never seen so many cheeseburgers, you know? This is something that I call, it's like a cheesy thing to pop out of your city, use a commander that can do instant proc damage, get a hit, and then bump back into your city. And with the amount of counterattack damage he gives, you pair with, like, Charles and Herald, or Alex and Herald, and you can really wreck people that are standing near your city. You really can, and you should. You can break up a murder ball that's just standing there and make them all have to refresh. It's disgusting. He deserves an S. I don't like that style of play, but I think it's definitely so good, it's worthy of that rating. Also, Leonidas, man. Guan Leo was my favorite March this KVK. Not even close. It was so fun. In part because my gear is really insane for that combo. So take that with a grain of salt. But man, Leo was a monster in the field. Very happy with his performance. Bumped him up to an S. I bumped Trajan down from S+ to S. I mean, not that Trajan is bad. He's amazing. But I had to bump that down to make room for the 1S+ Guan Yu. Also, Richard I, I bumped down ever so slightly. I mean, there's just more things that are wrecking healing. It's just weird. They give you a healing commander at the start, and then ever since that moment, it's just more and more and more and more ways to wreck healing. Whatever. I think that he gets an A+. I think that that's maybe not the nicest rating. What I'm trying to say is I think he performs a little bit better than that, but compared to the other S-minuses, like, he's not on the same level. I'm sorry. It just is reality. I also bumped down Moctezuma because he's just not on the same level. I'm sorry. It's just reality. Moctezuma is maybe solid in Ark of Osiris for swarming a structure, and he's decent in the field, but I feel like the counterattack damage taken needed to be instant proc, and then we would have been talking about something compelling. If he had a big active skill and instant proc to reduce the counterattack damage you take, then I think he would bump up in relevance, but he's just not quite there. And I moved a few commanders around slightly, Minamoto, Freddy, probably not all that worthy of discussion. When it comes to open field, I do think that Gilgamesh is going to bring a lot of heat. And people debated this. They were very, like, anti-Gilgamesh open field. It was really weird in my video where I sort of put together a bunch of combos for archers. And they said, well, Chisgule, like, the enemy health reduction isn't going to stack with Ethelfled. And it's true. It's not going to stack with Ethelfled. It's still really good. It's still really solid. I don't bring Ethelfled in my 5 March Murder Ball. I know a lot of people also don't bring Ethelfled in the 5 March Murder Ball. So, yeah, if you're not bringing Ethelfled, you will get the benefit of this almost all the time. And there's probably an even better chance that not only do those skills not land at the same time, but you even get the benefit of them sort of next to each other, where Ethelfled's debuff will apply for a couple seconds. It's going to fall off. Gilgamesh hits with an active skill. Then you've got that debuff going. I think Gilgamesh is going to be really strong. Also, you have a chance to instant proc a skill damage taken boost onto a target. That's insanely powerful. 15% extra skill damage taken is a big deal. And you just hunt targets that do healing. You hunt targets that do healing. You hunt targets that are low. And you're going to get some really crazy trades with Gilgamesh. I mean, I think those are going to be very positive. So I'm bullish about his performance in the field. I'm giving him an S. Maybe an S- will be more accurate. Time will tell. Amanatori also has strange possibilities for open field. And I say strange because it's unusual that we have a Garrison captain these days that has the potential to be so good in the field. And I think really there's just one crazy pairing, and it's Artemisia, man. That pairing could be nuts. I don't love the fact that she's missing March speed and that she's got attack as her stat here. So Artemisia's tankiness offsets her offensive punch, which will trigger most likely when Artemisia's self-damage, the self-skill damage hits. Amanitori's going to start doing AoE. I think those two paired together could be very strong. The support tree makes her very powerful, which is why I'm still giving her a pretty solid rating for the open field. Let's jump right into rallying cities. This is a category, by the way, where things are shaken up. I took Rallies from XYC, and that was a whole nother level from Attila Takeda. I mean, if I didn't already share the card up in the top for my city getting rallied, I'll have a card up in the top for either my city getting rallied or I'll show somebody else, a really high power player with their city getting rallied from XYC. I said last time I did a tier list that XYC was the way to take down a super high power city. I just think it's the best city rally, bar none now. I mean, Attila Takeda, I would not hesitate to use that rally without a doubt. It's very, very strong. But the S+ rating has got to go to XY. Just so good. Now, in terms of where I think Gilgamesh and Amanatori are going to sit, I don't think Amanatori is going to do anything for rallying cities. And when it comes to Gilgamesh, I think he could be very powerful. I'm giving him optimistically an S. Maybe that's more likely to be an S-. I'm eager to see what he's going to do, but I think he's going to have a ton of punch. When it comes to rallying objectives, I mean, we've got to just keep giving XYC that sick title. XY, Chandra was the go-to rally. Now, I think that's about to change. So I've given XY the S+ for now, but I think this is about to shift, and I think it's about to shift significantly to be Gilgamesh with Ramses or Gilgamesh with Nebu, depending on how the interaction works with Ramses cutting healing entirely. I think that could be very insane. So I would rank them very highly. Gilgamesh, I've given an S. I think that Bakal and Herald are going to be in some real trouble. I've bumped down Herald for now and left Bakal at an S. I think Bakal will likely bump down as well, which is really awkward because he like just hit the board and it's like, oh, so do we still use it? And I think the answer is yes. And the thing that perhaps we need to talk about is that now the rally meta is going to be more rock, paper, scissors. It's really weird. Depending on what they have in the Garrison, you're going to launch a certain type of rally. And depending on what sort of rally is going to be launched, you're going to change around what's in the Garrison. So I think that Bakal and Herald are still going to have a role, but I think that things are going to get really weird with the sort of rock, paper, scissors that we're about to see. One other commander that I bumped up slightly, and I was really surprised at how effective this actually was very simply using XY with Saladin. Not saying that's the best Cav rally. In fact, I'm explicitly saying it's not the best Cav rally. But I bumped up Saladin because XY Saladin did respectably. Not going to lie. It was very respectable as a rally. Not top tier, but still solid. When it comes to defending objectives, I do think Amanatori is about to really shift things significantly. And I've talked about this in a number of videos where she is dispelling attack enhancements. Well, that really wrecks Herald, and that also really wrecks Gilgamesh, who's just getting here and does a stacking attack boost, which is so weird. So I think Amanatori will start to shift the meta substantially. I still have listed Zenobia at S+, because at this exact moment, Zenobia is the strongest choice. But I think Amanatori, optimistically, is going to really change things significantly. I rank her at an S. She may be the new S+. I've also bumped up Artemisia, because I think the synergy those two could have could be really insane, depending on how the silence interaction works, and whether or not Artemisia still gets her damage boost. That, I think, could be very, very powerful. And honestly, I'm just really eager to see how the meta changes and whether or not this is about to be a rock, paper, scissors situation, which I really think is about to be our new reality. The last thing I'll talk about very briefly is Canyon, and for the most part, I feel like my rankings here were spot on. I do think that Amanatori could have an okay role in Canyon paired with Artemisia only. And because she doesn't have sort of crazy damage or crazy tankiness, I've just given her an A+. And let me just talk about that for a second. When you look at the best commanders in Canyon, there's like two roles that you have. Crazy damage pairs like Esong with Nebu, and crazy tankiness. Commanders like Trajan and Constantine that have utility and tankiness. That is what will always be the very best in Canyon. The extremes on either end. She is not the extreme on either end. I ranked Gilgamesh slightly higher than Amanatori because I feel like he does have a little bit more utility, but he still doesn't even have that extreme of like amazing tank and utility or amazing damage, right? He's just not the same level in Canyon as like Guan Yu or as Trajan or Constantine. So I put him optimistically at S-, and that's where I think that's going to sit. I did also bump up Pakal to an S-, and that is because I think as an offlane with Herald, he's doing pretty well, better than I originally had thought. But otherwise, the Canyon rankings are about the same. This brings us to the overall rankings, and it should be no surprise to folks that Esong is still my #1 pick. If you were picking any one legendary commander, and that's the only one you're going to invest in, I can say with a straight face that Esong is an amazing choice. Invest in Esong, and there's really no regrets. I'm still using him, and I think that is completely insane. I also bumped up, in my estimation, the ranking of Chandragupta. I think that this is probably better in the field than I've been giving it credit. And if I were doing more with calves, it's certainly a commander I would look to be using very heavily. I bumped up my overall rating very slightly on Tamaris. I mean, the debuffs she brings are just so good for the open field that I think she is worthy of that S-, even though that's really her one and only role in the game. She's a commander that I'm continuing to work on, and I'm clocking Amanatori and Gilgamesh at S-. Now, Gilgamesh coming in at S-, there's nothing unusual about that. I mean, he's going to be good in field, I think. He's going to be the meta rally. He's going to be okay in Canyon. I mean, that's conventional of like an S- rating. What's unconventional is the fact that I'm giving Amanatori an open field rating at all. And this is something that I noticed of archers that's really wild, which is that their garrison captains are also good in the field. And it's not every troop type that has commanders that can do that. Like you look at Yadviga, and she's really lame in the field, like a super lame duck in the field. I'm sorry. So you got Amanatori, who's not only a great garrison captain, but good in the field. Now, granted, I'm saying good in the field, but I think that is going to be true, especially when paired with Artemisia, who, by the way, is a garrison captain that's good in the field. Very respectable in the field. So it's unusual that we're in this situation where archers have commanders that are good in so many different places and in so many different ways, which is why in my video yesterday, I talked about how you could have a all Archer March murder ball that would be absolutely disgusting. So overall, I think that unlike the other garrison captains where I give them a niche rating and that's just where they sit, I do really feel like Amanatori is going to do some stuff that's really powerful, that Gilgamesh is going to really shift stuff, and the meta is about to change. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and throw a like on here and consider subscribing. It's 100% free to you and supports the channel tremendously. And if you're looking for something else to watch, check out those cards up in the top that I mentioned earlier. This is the 4th video for Archer Week, where day 1 we did Amanatori, day 2 we did Gilgamesh, day 3 we did Archer pairs, and now we've updated the tier list for the new archers. What should we do in our video tomorrow? Let me know down below in the comments. And until next time, you have fun, smash in the kingdom, and consider downloading Infinite Galaxy. Link is both in the description and in the pinned comment.